Willys MB fuel tank sump installation. The part number for the sump we will be installing in this video is A3497MB. Scott Schiller from Team G503. One of the most susceptible areas on a GPW or Willys MB tub is the fuel tank sump that's underneath the driver's seat. For some reason, moisture and debris love to collect down in there and rot it out from the backside, as well as all the debris that hits it from the underneath side, and it likes to rust out. Sometimes it look good. In the case of the 43 Willys MB, mine was all crushed and rotted and repaired, so we decided to replace it. And it's a good thing we did, because there are some very fantastic and correct reproduction parts out there. They're available at Ron Fitzpatrick Jeep Parts. In this video, I'm going to show you how I installed my fuel tank sump into the 43 tub. This is what's left of my original fuel tank sump from the 1943 Willys MB. And you can see here, as a lot of the cases, a lot of times, it's all rotted out on the bottom. It's been coated a couple times. The one cap on the end is probably still usable. I've cut a bunch of these pieces off because it was easier for me to remove that way. These are spot welded all into the bottom side of the tub on the Jeep. So how I removed the original sump was I just took a cutting wheel and a Sawzall and I cut out the sump about 2 inches below where it actually attached to the floor body of the tub. And then there's a series where the little metal pieces hold it into the tub. You can see here where I've drilled them all out. They're hard to find sometimes if they're all rusted, and this is an odd way that they're spot welded, so I don't think there was any actual pattern to the way they did it. So I've removed that, and I'm going to prep this to install the new reproduction sump. Unfortunately, the driver's side of the MB is full of gashes and cuts and Bondo, but what I did to remove the sump was, on the C channel I'll call it, on the outside, is I marked all the spot welds and then drilled them out with a 1/4-inch drill so I could remove that inside rail. And I'll go underneath the Jeep and I'll show you what it looks like from the inside. I'm on the underneath side of the Jeep, and this is the back lip on the sump. And what I've done here is I've wire wheeled it off so I can see where the spot welds are, and I can drill those out and remove the rest of the material that's welded on. I've got the new sump upside down laying there in the tub. It's really nicely made, well constructed. It looks identical to the one that was original to the Jeep. The tack welds look really good on it. Your drains. And it ought to be fun getting it back into the old tub. I've ground away to bare metal about 2.5 inches around the cutout for the sump. And I have not altered this sump at all, this opening. It's the same way it came from the factory. And that's going to become important when I show you how this new sump fits in. I've applied a couple light coats of the Barrier 3 red oxide primer from Ron Fitzpatrick Jeep Parts. And this is an interesting feature about this red oxide primer. Not only is it good at preventing rust, it's also weldable up to 2 mils, is what I've been told. So I'm going to go ahead and prime that up and seal that up. Maybe that'll help it from rusting out again next time. I could probably use the holes that I drilled out from the bottom side and go ahead and plug weld this back in. However, I'm going to use those holes to be able to hammer down the flange from the bottom side and get it all tight, and then I'll weld it from there. To install it, I'm going to go ahead and drill holes. I'm going to use 1/4-inch holes. I like that size for plug welding, about every 3 inches. And I'm just going to put them on the middle of the lip here and just drill them out. So I got my holes marked out. I'm about 1/2 inch from the ends of each tongue here, or tab to weld in, and then every 3 inches is what I did. Now, I've got them on that flange that goes to the front. I've got them on this flange that goes to the side, and I've got them on the back flange that goes behind the riser. Now, this C channel that I'll call it, that gets welded through the holes that I drilled out the spot welds on the outside of the tub near the axe and shovel indents. So I've got all my holes drilled, and I just took the grinder and just knocked down anything that would have been protruding or remnants of when I drilled. And then I'm going to go ahead and put a coat of the Barrier Guard 3 primer on the surfaces that mate together, and just to give that a little bit more of, I guess, rust protection. Let's prime them up. The sump is installed with the drain holes towards the transmission hump, and I'm going to do it from underneath the tub. going to come in at an angle like this. Get past the lower lip where the axe and shovel indents are. Just kind of tap it in with my palm. And it fit right in there, which is fantastic. This lip on the back goes on the outside, and I'll take you back behind the wheel well and show you that. I'm going to clamp it up from back there as well. And now you get to be present where I make a whomper of a mistake, but that's okay, it can be fixed. I don't know what I was thinking when I drilled those holes in that flange right there. I fitted this twice and I did it anyways, so you got me. But what I'll do is I'll just plug weld them back and with a spoon behind there and grind them. So I'm going to have to remove this and drill holes in this flange where that mounts. So made a mistake, sorry about that. I hope you watch the whole video before you go drilling holes into that thing. There's no way for me to go back and edit that, but you know, hey, you make a mistake in the garage sometimes, you got to go back and fix it. This won't be too awful bad. Like I say, I just plug weld them up and grind them off and we'll be fine again. Let me pull this back out of here and drill it the correct way. That was a real blooper. Since I made this screw up, I might as well put this in the video. So you've got this 1/4 inch hole here. And I've just got a welding spoon. It's copper on the end, heavy. It's got a nice handle on it to keep your hand away from the heat. So we'll put that behind there, and then we'll take our stinger and we'll make a little circle until we fill that weld up. Or I'm sorry, until we fill that hole up with weld. And then we can just grind that back off. So even though I screwed something up there, we can do this, and then I'll try not to do that again now. Wow. Not a big deal. And then we just filled it up, and then we can go back and grind that off. It'll be good as new. If you see here, I've got the holes drilled now where they're supposed to be, and that will attach to the floor. I still can't believe I made the mistake. We won't harp on it. Just go back through and weld them all in. I've used 2 welding clamps on the inside of the wheel well here where the lip is formed on the tub. And I've just plug welded the top here through the top to hold the sump in place, and then I'll, from the underneath side, fill those drilled holes I did on the flange and plug weld those to the tub in the wheel well. And that'll take care of the back side. This is the front side of the sump. I'll show you here up underneath the rail how that C-channel fits onto the lip of the tub. Get a close-up of one of the plug welds that I did through here through the side. If you remember the beginning of the video where I had them all on the bottom side of the axe indent. I want to show you this specialty clamp that I use when I do the plug welds. This I bought at Harbor Freight, as a matter of fact. It's made in China, but it does the job really well. It's got this flat side here and this hook side. And how you use it is you can get it behind tight spots like this. You can just clamp that down like that, and that pulls the metal together really nice and tight so you can make that nice plug. I've still got a bunch of pinholes here to fill. I just wanted to get the sump installed, and we can work on those. Just working on grinding off some of the plug welds here, make them nice and smooth. You can see this front flange here that I've got welded in. Now I've got some holes here that are still present, but that's okay. When I flip the tub over, I'm going to be able to hammer those tight into those, and then I'll plug weld those as well and grind them from the bottom. Been working on all these and get them all ready to go. I'll get those all ground up real nice and then apply a nice coated primer to that. Now if you watched to the end, and I hope you did, yeah, I screwed up, but this stuff happens. It happens like that. Even when you're shooting, I thought to myself, I'm going to go back and do the whole thing all over, but I thought maybe not, because this stuff does happen. And if it doesn't happen to you, well, and you know, hats off to you, because you know, the thing is, correct your mistakes. It wasn't that big a deal, and I did get the sump in there correctly. Body work is not my favorite thing in the world to do. In fact, I was talking to a few friends of mine this past weekend. I always said the next time I do a Jeep restoration, I'm going to do the tub first, because it's the most tedious task. And quit whining about that too, Scott. Just get back at the tub. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Thanks to Ron Fitzpatrick and Ron Fitzpatrick Jeep Parts. Team G503 is restoring a 1943 Willys MB. If you'd like to follow along and see the progress we've made in future videos, please hit the subscribe and like button and share with your friends. Thank you for watching. All parts provided by Ron Fitzpatrick Jeep Parts.